See, ultimately, this is interesting in a way, because ultimately, when we talk about the senses, right? Ultimately, if you get right down to brass tacks, if you get right down to actually what's happening, right, is awareness is appearing as a sound. That's what's happening. We have this way of understanding it that includes the body and the ears and all, and the brain and all that jazz, right? But if you want to get really down to what's the reality of what's happening, is all there is, you can always depend on this to answer the questions, right? All there is consciousness. That's all that exists. All the rest of it is misunderstandings about it that have to do with, you know, how to live in the world as a separate self and all that jazz, right? But the reality of it is everything that you see is consciousness manifesting as what you're looking at. Everything you hear is consciousness manifesting as the sound you're hearing. Every sense is actually consciousness appearing as that. One of my teachers made a statement. I went to one of his talks in New York many, many years ago, and he made a statement. And he said, creation is a matter of distinction. It's an interesting statement. Man, what the hell does that mean? Creation is a matter of distinction. Well, what it means is everything that could possibly exist already exists, right? The only reason it doesn't show up is it hasn't yet been distinguished. When the word hashtag came into existence, right? Guess what? There were hashtags, right? But hashtags always existed, but it existed as the undefined reality. That's part of the total reality that exists. So when what we call creation is nothing but something being distinguished. When you're born, right, your body is a distinction, isn't it? It's now distinguished from other bodies, right? Right? So you could say it was created, right? But the creation is an appearance of consciousness. Your body and you are an appearance of consciousness. And you are the consciousness appearing as whatever it is that you see and experience. That's what's actually happening. Yeah, well, all we have to work with is human concepts. Right? But we can understand that the concepts are pointers. We don't have to take the concepts to be the thing. That, the concepts are pointing. And when they point to what it's pointing to, we can look at what it's pointing to, but we don't have to take it to have an independent existence. You know, the reason that a lot of people get stuck with anxiety and depression? Because they think the anxiety or depression happens to them. Now watch. If you think depression happens to you, aren't you giving it an independent existence? It can cause me to suffer. It can cause me to suffer. You're giving it exists outside of me. It's not part of me.
Oh, we're taking it in.
Well, you know, you're being the way you're understanding it is you're being at the effect of it, right? It's affecting you, right? It's affecting me. When you talk like that, you're talking as if depression has its own existence. You're reifying it. You're acting as if it has its own existence. It's just like thinking. You know, if your thoughts are troubling you, if you think your thoughts are troubling you, aren't you saying that your thoughts have an independent existence that's affecting you? This isn't true. This isn't true.
What is it?
Depression is a description of an energetic movement, right? Everything in the world and human experience is an energetic movement, and the energetic movement, if the energetic movement is like this, that's called dead, flatline, right? When life exists, life pulsates, like your heart pulsates. Life is a pulsation. Look, when you're practicing meditation, what I say, focus on the belly pulsating, expanding and contracting. It's like a pump. Expanding and contracting. It's a pulsation, right? Life is a pulsation. Everything is going up and down all the time. Look around. Everything is going up and down all the time. The temperature's going up and down. The sun's going up and down, right? Everything is going up and down all the time. So the energetic experience that we're having of our mind and our body is going up and down, right? So now watch. If when it goes down, instead of just being with it while it's down, right, we start resisting it, we don't like it, we want this to be different than it is, and what do you know about resistance? Yeah, you're causing the depression. You're literally causing the depression. But in the conventional way that this is understood in psychotherapy, right, it's like the depression's happening to you. You're not causing the depression. So how can you resolve something that you're not the source of? Take medication.
So how can you resolve it?
By practicing being with it instead of identifying with it. By practicing being with it instead of relating to it as if it has a life of its own. It doesn't. It doesn't have a life of its own. If you're anything you can be, anything you can let be will let you be. Practice it. Try it out. Anything you can let be. If you can let your moods be the way they are, you don't suffer that. The brain responds to the way that you're experiencing things. That's neuroplasticity, isn't it? That's what neuroplasticity is. The brain responds to the way you're experiencing things. The brain is using your experience to know what's real because it can't know what's real. It's not alive. It's a brain. It just takes data in and processes the data and considers that to be reality. And then you experience the reality that the brain's experiencing. That's all.
So for humans, it used to be physical survival, and now it's survival of the personality.
Well, it's still physical survival, but we don't live in a time where that's a big deal anymore. We're not trying to survive from the animals that are trying to eat us anymore. But the survival of the personality is just as real. Why? Because you take the personality to actually exist. If you take the personality to actually exist, right, then your life is about having that personality survive. Right? How do you have your personality survive? To be right. To be right and to be right and avoid being wrong, and to dominate and avoid being dominated. If you pay attention to your psychology, that's what it's doing. Yeah, but if the way you're experiencing it is you're just being with it, you're not resisting it, you're not trying to change it or control it, it'll start moving in the direction of well-being.
When you say, go with it and sit with it,
Yeah?
what are you doing? You're just saying, okay, I'm depressed.
No, you're not saying, okay, I'm depressed.
Okay, so what are you saying?
You're saying I'm aware of a thought called depression. I am not my thought. I'm aware of the thought. Right? I am not my emotional experience. I'm aware of the emotional experience. As soon as you identify with it, you become it, which means you make something that doesn't exist seem as if it's real, and it does exist. And then it's you against that. See, the thing is, the source, you have to look at the source of your question. The source of your question is, I don't want to be depressed. But you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice about what happens with your emotions, do you? Do you get up in the morning and say, today I think I'll be angry for a while, and then I'll do this? No, you have nothing to say about it.
So you don't have a choice, but you still want to go through it.
That's what meditation is about, allowing yourself to relax and allow yourself to experience that you can be with it. If you just be with it, it's not affecting you. Do you understand that? If you're just being with something, it's not affecting you. And if you do nothing, it will go just like it came. Everything that appears must disappear. It's the law of impermanence, right? It's the law. It's a law. Everything that appears must disappear. The sun will die. The earth will die. Everything that appears must disappear. It's the law of impermanence. So if something lasts longer, that doesn't mean it doesn't die. It just means it lasts longer. But you see how we interpret things? I want you to be clear. You have the power to determine the quality of your life. You have the power to determine whether or not you suffer. It's very simple, right? What causes suffering?
Thoughts.
No.
Resistance.
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 experiencing grief and dealing with it and focusing on it, letting go, and then the suffering evaporates.
It doesn't even evaporate. There's just no suffering.
Yeah, there's no suffering.
You know, you can practice this. You know, that this is very important for you to understand. You can practice this. Don't take it on as a belief. It won't work. You have to practice it. You have to actually experience that it's true. Anything that you just be with and you don't resist and you don't try and avoid and you don't try and change, right? You don't try and fix it, right? And the place that you can practice this and see the workability of it more than anything else is being with yourself, being with your mind. That's what the teachings are telling us. Let your mind be the way it is. You know, your mind is not awake and alive. It's running a program that's inconsistent with reality. That's what it's doing, right? And because it's running a program that's inconsistent with reality, right, suffering happens there, right? But what we're doing is you're just allowing yourself to be present to it, right? And take care of it. Your mind should be sacred, right? Because your life is occurring there, and what's occurring there is a function of your conditioning, and it's inconsistent with reality as it really is. That's why they say train the mind. Train the mind to be consistent with the way it is. Then the suffering won't happen. Takes time, but you can do it, and you're changing your brain the same way. You're training your brain to be consistent with reality. That's what you're doing by practicing meditation. Everybody here should look at the 8 verses of Training the Mind. And when you look at the 8 verses of Training Mind, watch your mind react to it when you read it. The regular person, if they look at the 8 verses of Training the Mind and they read that, their mind's going to go crazy. Oh no, I'm not doing that. Because what it's saying is no matter what happens, right, always be willing to be the one that gives the other person the victory, no matter what the situation is. Give the other person the victory. Why would this be training the mind? Yeah, that's right. It makes the ego stand down, but if you practice it, right? If you go to practice it, right? Then you have to watch your mind want to do the other thing, and you won't follow that. That's training your mind. Watch your mind want to fight, but you're not going to fight. That's training your mind.